Julie?
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I want to say huge thanks to all the amazing presenters. My writing's in downtown Toronto, but believe it or not, when I grew up in downtown Toronto, my mother's first job when she immigrated to Canada from Mexico was actually processing salmon. And that went on until the late 70s. So I always remember having a house full of salmon and always loving it. Anyways, thank you for your presentations today. You all have been very clear about what are the needs right now, what are some of the weaknesses in our current support programs. You've come up with some excellent ideas about some of the adjustments you might be looking for and some of the programs you might be looking for. So I want to let you know to say that's come across as loud and clear, and it's been a very excellent dialogue and discussion. Where I want to focus my question on is, it's on one of the things that the Prime Minister said this morning in response to questions from the media after his daily update. He said that one of the things the federal government is doing is, how do we build back better? You know, a lot of our discussions focus very much on this year. How are we going to get through this year? How are we going to pivot into 2021? I think the reality is the world is going to look a bit different after this pandemic is over and as we get out through this pandemic. I'll also say that sometimes crises like these actually allow us to see weaknesses in our current business models. And one of my question, and it's open to anyone who'd like to respond, and I'd like to hear from the different coasts and the different parts of the fishing sector. But how is it that the federal government can start investing in the fishing sector in a way that's going to help the sector build back better? And it could be, I think Ms. Burridge sort of mentioned, there's some things that we could be doing, but it will require a huge investment in a particular type of technology. But I would love to hear a little bit of that, because I think we need to not only invest for right now to help you survive, but I also think we need to be investing to help you actually thrive moving forward. So who would like to maybe start to respond to that?
Ms. Burridge, do you want to start? Your mic.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'll be glad to start with that. We've talked a little bit about how we think the world is going to look different. So we do have to figure out how to get our export markets back. We do have to look at the domestic market. But I think one of the challenges is going to be that it's not just us who will have to do things differently. It is government departments as well. So very much want to encourage dialogue with DFO over collaborative ways in which we can make things better, in which we can manage fisheries in a world, as someone put it, where there might not be so many humans on the water.
Mr.
Government people, really, rather than our own harvesters.
Mr. McPherson?
Just wanted to make a quick comment that I think, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but I think we're into a classic situation where more doesn't always necessarily mean better, and we've become so export focused on our seafood. I think we need to walk it back and make sure that the return to the harvesters, which is the start of the whole supply chain, is adequate. And I think we've got an opportunity to reset that, as Captain Jollymore has pointed out. I mean, we do have some challenges for this year, but it doesn't need to be the template of millions of pounds going and not a sufficient return to the harvesters. So I think, and we want people in the middle to make money too, but I think it's a good chance to reset that, be it a marketing program, selling more in Canada, closer markets, whatever. But I think there's some room there for sure.
I don't know, anybody else wanted in? I thought maybe Mr. McIsaac did. I'm not sure. Go ahead, Jim.
So definitely, for the last 30 years in the West Coast, and this is happening somewhat in the East Coast as well, we've let our fishery be owned and controlled offshore to a greater extent, and so. Pivoting back to the Canadian focus, the Standing Committee of Fisheries last year put a set of recommendations forward to try and address these issues. But those kind of things need to happen so that we have ownership of access in Canadian hands, and that we have a program to focus on domestic markets going forward here.